Okay, so we're here with Daniel. And Daniel's connecting with us here today. He's down in South Georgia. And I was telling him before we got on today that, this month, it's March, is Traumatic Brain Injury Month. So I wanted to showcase some of our patients who have had that experience where they've had a traumatic brain injury, they've had some lingering bad symptoms, and then we've done some neurofeedback, and pretty much with all people that are in that situation, we're going to do neurofeedback, but we're also going to do some metabolic things. So Daniel, if you've been on our website, you have seen he has a previous testimonial that he did when he started on the metabolic side of things. And then, our plan from the very beginning was, let's get you better situated here on the front end with some better blood sugars, less inflammatory foods, and then we can move forward. Yes. And put you into the brain training, and you're going to get more benefit out of it because you're in a better, healthy place. So I'm going to let you have the floor and give a little background about what happened.
Wow.
Where you're coming from.
Wow, where I have come from in the past 2 years. Well, when I first met you back in October, well, even before then, 2 years ago, I was teaching school, not quite 20 years. I was teaching a 4th grade class, and just happened one particular day, a young lady just happened to be in the wrong type of mood. Nothing that I'd done or said to her created the situation. She just had a bad day. It was a bad day at home. A lot of the kids I was teaching were from rough homes. And so standing between the classroom and looking out right in the door jamb of the door, had my back to the classroom, looking out the hall, making sure that the students were coming in quietly and decent and in order. All of a sudden, I was hit in the back of the head by this female student. I didn't realize what type of any injury at all. I didn't. I've always been tough enough to get back on the horse and get back to going and teaching. Mm-hmm. And those were the type of students I was teaching. Well, through time, eventually, especially that was the end of one school year, going into the next school year, I started noticing some problems. I was teaching every subject. I was teaching math, science, social studies, language arts, writing, how to write stories. I was teaching all of it. But all of a sudden, I was noticing that when I was teaching math, for some reason it was math, I was doing the problems wrong. And if it wasn't for Common Core, I would have really, Common Core was messing me up anyway. So I thought it was just the Common Core situation with the curriculum. But the children were interrupting class by saying, Mr. Cassidy, I'm sorry, Mr. Cassidy, but that's wrong. That's not right. Can you look at it again?
Oh my goodness. I haven't heard this part of the story.
Yeah. And so how embarrassing is that? So I was having to go back through and look at it again, and it was becoming more constant. It was getting worse. And I was talking to my principal. Then it started going into other subjects that I was teaching. I eventually had to quit. I had to stop. And so to jump to the next part of the story, besides the mental signs, I noticed some physical signs that were going on with my health. My feet were hurting, especially my left foot, and I was not walking very well. The principal noticed I was not walking very well because he saw me on the cameras in hallways. I was having to stop and rest. I was fatigued. A fog began to envelop me. I was not able to, I got to the point I didn't even know what I was doing. It was so bad. I ended up at home, just staying home. I ended up quitting. I ended up having to get rid of the best truck I ever had in my life. I love that truck. And we went from 2 vehicles to 1 vehicle, and from 2 sources of income to 1. Wow. And I went from doctor to doctor to doctor. They kept saying, we don't see anything in your blood. They ran test after test. They couldn't find nothing. Eventually they said, you have fibromyalgia. They gave me some pills. I don't know how many pills I had, over the counter pills. I ended up at home. I had no answers.
Wow.
The only thing I knew to do was to do my own research. And that's when I began doing some research. And I saw this thing called neurofeedback. And I found somebody else in the United States, another part of the world. I'm like, there's got to be somebody closer. And then that's when I found Dr. Lawrence. And I remember walking in, the trip there, I was agonizing for that trip. I was in the back seat while my wife drove.
Oh,
And I
wow.
said, I hope this doctor's good as they say she is, because I looked at testimonials. I was looking at the
Right.
videos, and I found some people that I had commonality with. And I got up there and I was crying in the car. I didn't even know if I wanted to come in, but I went in, and then that's when I met y'all. Yeah. That's how bad it
Wow.
was.
Yeah, well, I remember even, I think on that initial day that we did our consultation,
Yeah.
you were very distraught.
Yes.
Just because, I mean, as someone who's, really like to go out and do your thing teaching, I mean, you've been out of work, I think,
Yeah.
for like 2 years.
It was 2 years. Yes.
And that's a long time. And that's partially because initially you started just making mistakes and things weren't coming out right, and your students were actually bringing your attention to it, which is like, wow, kind of embarrassing, but I mean also scary, because
Yes.
you should know those answers and you didn't.
Yeah.
And then you got to a
Mhm.
point where you, I think, basically were bedridden.
Yes, I
Just stayed in
was.
your bed because you were distraught over not having a job, losing
And
your truck.
I couldn't even move my body at
Yeah.
certain days. I was so
Wow.
weak. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
came in initially, and for those of you who've seen the other video, it's, you can go back, and I think it's under our diabetes page right now. But I mean, you could really fit into really every single category that we have,
Absolutely.
because you had a lot of
Yeah.
digestive problems.
Yes.
You had cognitive things. You had, mood. Obviously, if you can't work for 2 years and you lose things that you care about, and you're
Right.
having a financial strain, I mean,
Yes.
everyone's
Yes.
gonna, that's gonna rub everybody the wrong way. But initially, when you came in, we started you off with the metabolic care, which is, getting all the testing done, and we found, numbers there that weren't right.
Yes.
Your A1C was too high,
Yes.
which we were just saying before we started recording. I couldn't believe it, because to get someone under a 5, I mean, that's pretty. You got to keep a pretty
It
tight
is.
diet. And you were at 4.9, so we were laughing because your doctor was like, "What have you been doing? Why aren't you taking any of this medicine anymore? Why do your numbers look so good?"
Yeah.
So, but I like to do the metabolic aspect first, most all the
Sure.
time. Sometimes I choose. With some people, we have to do the neurological part of the neurofeedback first, for a wide variety of reasons I'm not going to get into here. But for the most of you, I want to level you out, make sure that you have good blood sugar, you're not anemic, and that we're not all inflamed before we
Right.
start training, because you're going to respond to that training even better.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're in a better metabolic state to do that.
Mhm.
So initially, we started you on your metabolic part. We went and got the testing done. We went over all that. We got you on your supplements and got you going. And you started noticing some changes really pretty quickly.
Yes. Yes.
And then probably I think it was a month later. Probably wasn't that long, maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You and your wife came up again. I think she just liked to go to the mall.
Yeah.
That's a whole other story. But so she got to come with you. And by that time, I think you drove.
I did.
Okay. And then we actually sent you home we did a training in office, but then we sent you home with a unit.
Yes.
So, one of the cool things that we have, really in the past maybe 10 or 15 years, is that we have the ability to use these machines that typically would only be in a research center.
Yeah.
Technology has made it so that we can actually have those machines in our office and be training
Yes.
people, right here, right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And probably 2 or 3 years ago, we took another leap. The company that we
Mhm.
use for our neurofeedback actually started doing the at-home units, but it was in this like
Yeah.
big, it looked like the nuclear football. Okay. So it was in this big box, it was kind of bulky. And we started with that. And
Yep.
then they had um, you know, the second machine that they came up with,
Yeah.
after a year or so. And it made it so small. I think did you take the smaller one home?
I did. It was a small
Okay.
one.
So it's like the size
Mhm.
of a makeup bag.
Yeah.
Okay. And you use your own computer, you set yourself
Yeah.
up. So it's awesome. We can ship it easily. So we have people that
Yeah.
aren't local that can use it, and it's really pretty cool. And I get to
Yeah.
see exactly what's going on with your training day to day.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of a learning curve on the front end just because we're having to show you how to get yourself hooked up and how to do it appropriately and all
Yeah.
that. But I mean, we did that in office and you were at home, and you might have
Yeah.
had a couple questions here or there, but did you
Yeah.
find it to be easy with setting
That
yourself up?
that it was very easy. Matter of fact, the program itself even told me what to do
Correct. Yeah, I
when
think
I
they've kind of
initially
taken
got
all of
in.
that out of there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would like to make a note too, Dr. Lawrence, that first time that we came up and you hooked me up to that machine,
Mhm.
the majority of the pain was gone within
Wow.
that 25 minutes. Sure was. Now that was my experience.
Sure.
And that was amazing. And then when I brought that home, each what do you want to call it, session,
Session. Mhm.
I got better, stronger. Brain fog is gone. And that could be because of something else. I don't know. But I do know that each session that I did have here at home in this office that I'm in right now, I got better.
Awesome. What did
Mhm.
you notice? And initially you noticed the decrease in the pain that you had, but what did you notice from a cognitive or mood? Because when I go back and I look over the different protocols we use with you, because we use different protocols depending on, what the dysregulated pattern is that we're trying to, fix.
Yeah.
We did a
Yes.
lot of mood,
Yes.
what's called asymmetry protocols. So we did a lot of asymmetry protocols for you. And then I also, when I felt like you were on a better footing, um, then we moved into some more focused type of things
Yes.
for the brain fog. So,
I, I have noticed a big difference when I'm talking to people. Um, I'm able to think clearly. I'm able to stay on topic, talking to the other person or persons.
right.
Matter of fact, I taught my first class. I teach an adult theology
Mhm.
class, and I just finished my third class. And last week, I'm hearing from the pastor that they haven't heard such teaching in years
Wow.
since I've been
Wow.
gone, and
That's
that made me
awesome.
feel better, you know.
Sure.
Also, and I feel too. I mean, I before all these sessions, I would watch a movie, and then later on, I couldn't even remember even watching the movie. I don't know if that makes sense from the fall
Wow.
brain.
Yeah.
But now, and that's what I liked about the sessions. I was able to watch my favorite movies during the session.
Bonus. Yeah.
But now I can go back in those movies and tell you about those actors, their
Mhm.
names, and what happened in those movies. So yeah, there's a the spectrum is huge on the differences from the time I walked in your office to right now.
So what does your wife think about the change of mood that you've had? Because she has
She
to live with you.
Well, during those sessions, there were some moments I had. During those weeks
Mhm.
of those sessions, there were some times I was very crabby.
And
And you
that's
even
awesome. because I
And
told you
you,
about it ahead of time.
yeah, you told me ahead of time, and you told me I
Yeah,
would have to get a hold of myself.
correct.
And then I have a counselor that I talked to, and she said the same thing. You're
Yeah.
going to have to recognize in the moment what's going on, and take, I don't know the word she used, but take control of my feelings.
Right.
But now, Dr.
Right.
Lawrence, I'm sitting there. We have lazy boys together, and every night we watch ER or watch something. we watch stuff together, and I'm talking I'm myself again. I'm able to talk to her in a loving tone,
Right.
you know.
Well,
She doesn't have,
when you don't feel good, it's hard to be
yes,
in the mode. So you were,
yeah,
had a lot of pain, you just didn't feel like
yes,
yourself. So you were,
right,
and I'm sure, as someone who likes to go out and work, and bring home
yeah,
that income for your family, you were kind of feeling a little,
yes,
you know, like you weren't holding up your end of the,
demasculinized.
exactly. You weren't holding up your side of the bargain.
Right,
You know,
right,
I was looking when we do, and it's, unfortunately the Zoom recording is still a little new to me.
yeah,
Or I see if I
me
can
too.
like share the screen with you. But
Hmm.
we had we do what's called a cognitive assessment initially, and I'm looking at yours from 10/7 of 2020, which is October 7th of 2020, and we redid your map 12/10 of 2020. I went back and I looked at the number of sessions that we did, and because you have a home unit,
Yeah,
you can train more frequently than someone who's coming into the office.
yes,
But with the one or two that we did at the office and the ones that you did at home, you had like 45 sessions.
right,
A good, solid, especially for
yeah,
someone with a traumatic brain injury. There was things that we saw there that just really needed to be addressed.
hmm,
So initially, basically on your category scores for attention, memory, impulsivity, depression, and anxiety, when someone is normal or optimal, those should all be 0 because
yep,
those all relate to symptoms. There's scores that relate to the number and the severity of the symptoms that you have. And I know you probably can't read it, but I just want you to see these are all red
yeah,
because the numbers are so high. So it says red indicates an abnormally high score.
yeah,
Okay, you didn't do very well.
mm-mm.
So the scores were 28, 31, 16, 10, and 29.
Wow,
That was your before. And here we are
Ooh.
basically 2 months later,
Yeah,
months, because we really compressed the amount of training that we had in a shorter period.
yeah,
And those scores, which added up to like basically 100 for all of them together,
yeah,
you're at 5.
wow,
That says 5. This says 100.
uh-huh,
Okay. So it was really pretty amazing.
in two
But
months,
yeah, but the beauty of it is, and not everyone who does neurofeedback does a clinical nutrition practice. Okay.
yeah,
When I look at that, I go, why wouldn't they do that? But the reason that people don't do it is because it's hard. I mean, it's
yeah,
not just throwing vitamins at someone, it's being able to really
uh,
take the information and
yeah,
make sense out of it. So I really, truly think that when we do neurofeedback with most people, because most people are going to come in with a simple problem, they're coming in with like
yeah,
years of stuff they're dragging into your office.
yeah,
But with most people, you're going to get the most complete and quick
mm,
results because you're making sure the brain is nice and healthy and has all the nutrition it needs
yes,
while you're training it. Maybe giving you a little head start and then putting you into training, and it just works
yeah,
fantastic. So, um, kudos. You go from having
amazing.
a basically. Did you go and have like an MRI? I don't remember off the top of my head, but did you have an MRI or CAT scan, or what did they diagnose you with initially when you got hit?
Oh yeah, I did have an MRI. Then I had an EEG at a neurologist
Uh-huh.
office, and I'm trying to remember. Oh, I did have a concussion
Mm-hmm.
at that time,
Correct.
but I didn't even know I had one.
And you know what?
But
That's not unusual.
narcolepsy,
That's right.
Mhm.
Forgot about that. Yeah, you had such a laundry list. It's hard to remember that
Yes.
was there. Yeah, but the
Yeah.
narcolepsy was there too. So the
Mhm.
point being that, of course, we don't see people with acute head injuries. If you have a horrible accident and you think you have a head
Right.
injury, not my place is not the place to come at
Yeah.
that moment.
Right.
However, what I will tell you is that the vast majority of people who have traumatic brain injuries, just the problems that they have linger and
Yeah.
and snowball
Mhm.
over
That,
time.
that's what happened
Don't
to me.
exactly.
Mhm.
So the interesting thing in your case is that you start off not being diabetic, not having fibro, like all these situations and these
Yeah.
conditions that were physical in nature
Uh-huh.
came on after you got hit in the head. Okay. And it's just not a big stretch because really the brain controls everything that happens in your body. So,
Yes. Yes.
um, but you saw like your whole health devolve after this
Yes.
incident.
Yes.
So the point I want to make here is that you can have, I don't want to see you if you're an acute head injury. If you're an acute head injury, you need to go to the hospital and be evaluated and all of that.
Right.
And typically there has to be like a little bit of lead time between when you have a head injury and have been evaluated, at the
Yeah.
hospital neurologically, and any time that we're going to go into training.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I will tell you that it is very common for people with traumatic brain injuries or concussions to have lingering things like headaches is huge.
Yes.
Um, you can have a change in your personality where the people that you live with go, this is not the same person.
Mhm.
It's kind of like if you have a stroke, that which is also a traumatic brain
Yeah.
injury, you can also see some personality changes that are just, you know, unusual. But
Yeah.
pain, weird neurological, like paresthesias, weird feelings in your body,
Yeah.
memory issues, a change in the way that you can gate like your responses, where you have like a
Mhm.
little,
Yeah.
yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
Like a time lapse.
the cool thing is typically when you have an injury like that, it will
Yeah.
slow that part of the brain down, and then other parts of the brain have to make up for that.
Yes.
So the slowing parts at the extra, you get too much low and slow speed, you're going to end up having brain fog, and you're not going to think straight. You're not going to be able to really think
Yeah.
clearly. And that's what we see with a lot of people who have those type of injuries. Is they end up making way too much low and slow, and then over time they end up trying to make up for it make way too much extra fast. And when that happens, you're going to end up feeling anxious.
Exactly.
You're going to end up with insomnia, and you're going to end
Yep.
up with chronic pain.
Yes.
That's what that
Yeah.
looks like. So,
Yes.
well, all I got to say is, whew, that
Well,
was
I remember when I would lose something, you lose your keys, your phone. I could not remember where, and I get angry and upset and throwing stuff.
right.
But just the other day, I couldn't find my keys, and I was back in my bedroom, and all of a sudden I remembered where they were. I was in my bedroom, and I said, "Where are my keys?" And I remembered in my jacket. The jacket's green. It's on the back of the chair that I use to do
Mhm.
puzzle. I do puzzles and glue them and sell them.
Oh, wow.
and and I remember where it was. And then the other day I forgot. I couldn't remember where my phone was, and I remembered it was outside and it was
And the memory
on the
comes back
step.
very specifically, it sounds
Yes,
like.
I
Awesome.
was like, no way.
So, you know what? What would you say in regards to someone else who might have a similar issue as you?
Yeah. The best thing you can do is you've got to do your own research. I mean, you admire your doctors, you do you do exactly what they tell you, you take the medications, but somewhere you have to draw the line, because I was beginning rather to see side effects of those medications. And I knew I was going to get worse. I knew they were going to give me more medications to help with those side effects. So I knew I had to stop it somewhere. My advice is you got to do your own research, and you've got to go to someone who can come at it from a different angle to
Multiple
help
different
along.
angles.
Yes. Yes.
How many medications have you come off of now?
I went back the other day and counted, and my wife did with me. It was 16.
that you
Total
you
medication.
don't take anymore?
I don't take them anymore.
Wow.
Nope.
Wow. That's awesome. That's even better than the last time I talked to you.
That's
And how
right.
much weight have you lost? Because like I was noticing you're getting real thin through your face there.
I went from 249. Right now I'm at 249 to 195.
Wow. So
Yeah.
over 50, almost 55 pounds.
I want to get down to 188 and then I'm done.
And your camera ready?
Yes. Yes.
Well, we still have, you know what? There's still a few things that we're working on. There's so
Yeah.
much improvement overall. And the awesome
Mhm.
thing is that, I mean, you know the improvements,
Yes.
but you're still a work in progress because you were sick for a couple years. So
Yes.
I'll take the, huge improvements that we've seen over the last 2 or 3
Yes.
months.
But
And
also, Dr. Lawrence, you
uh-huh,
can ask my wife, you can ask my family and friends. Everything that you have asked me to do, I did it.
good point.
I might needed some correction on the foot bath, but other than that, I've done everything.
Correct. And that makes all the difference. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't help
Yeah.
anybody if you come here and I tell you that you have to do this or that, you have to eat this way, you have to take these supplements, and you go home, you don't do any of it, you're not going to reap the benefit of that.
Exactly.
So yeah, so you are really good about keeping your
Yeah.
appointments and
Yeah.
doing everything I ask you to do to the best of your ability, and that obviously has a huge
Yes.
bearing on how well you do in a program. So
Exactly.
kudos to you for being such a good patient.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
All right, any final words?
Oh, I just think that the best way to, in my opinion, after all the research I've done and spending time in your office and doing what you told me to do, I just really think that you have got to take control of your health and quit depending on other people to take control of your health.
Right.
Does that make sense at all?
Absolutely. It sure does. You have to
Gotta
be a
take
good steward for your own self in today's world.
Yes. Yes.
That's the point.
Yeah.
And no one else is going to value it as much as you do. And recognize that your doctor has to work within a certain standard of care or they expose themselves to like malpractice and things like that. But a lot of the things that are being done from a medical perspective are kind of
Right.
like 20 years ago. I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot more research and things that have come out, but medicine's really slow to change and adopt
Yes.
new things that work.
Yes.
So, and
Yeah.
neurofeedback isn't even new. I mean, it's been around for
Yes.
many years. So,
Well, I appreciate your practice and I appreciate your professionalism and your knowledge because you're bringing health and you're giving people back their lives. And I know that because you brought mine. You gave me my life back and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Yeah.
You know what? This is what I do. I enjoy every minute of it. So the more people I
Yeah.
can help that are just like you, the better, the better that makes me
Yeah.
feel too. So
Right.
that's my calling in life. So I'm glad that you
Yes.
could help me accomplish what I want to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's been great. I'm sure it's going to be super inspirational for someone. Because just like when you were watching your initial videos, someone's going to watch your video and it's going to speak to them in a certain way and allow them the feeling that it's safe for them to call and communicate with us and hope that maybe we can help them too. So that's awesome.
That would make me feel even better.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.